Hello and welcome to Jo Gard's Writing Life. I'm Jo, I'm a writer and script consultant based in the UK, and this is my channel where I talk about all things writing. Today I've got a quick video on the basics of formatting your screenplay. If you're new to screenwriting or you just fancy having a go, then hopefully these basic tips will help you out. Screenwriting, out of all the different writing mediums and writing formats, I think screenwriting has the most rules, definitely when it comes to how it looks on the page, so hopefully there'll be some good tips for you in this video. Okay guys, this is my desktop and I'm just opening a new file in Final Draft. So here I am faced with the writer's biggest fear, the blank page. So I'm going to begin with what is called a slug line. It also could be called a scene heading. And I'm going to start with the word int. Now int stands for interior, and every scene begins with either interior or exterior. So int or ext, and that just basically means, is the scene going to take place inside, so it would be int, or is it going to take place outside, which would be ext. So I'm going to be in Jo's office, so it's interior, Jo's office. So it's interior or exterior followed by the location. Next, we're going to add the time of the scene. So normally it's just day or night, as that's what's most commonly used, but you can obviously choose afternoon, morning, late night, whatever. Also, notice that the slug line is always all in capitals. Now we're going to move on to the action line or the scene description. So I'm putting Jo in the scene, so it's Jo followed by her age 32. When you're introducing a character for the first time, you always put their name in capital letters, and it's usually followed by their age. Now this could be precise, or it could simply be 20s, 30s, 40s, just a rough guide. So continuing with the action line, we've got Jo, 32, sits at her cluttered desk, typing manically. Also, you should notice that the tense of the scene is in present tense, and that is always the way with screenplays. They always are written as it happens. And also you want to sort of convey the tone of the script. So Jo sits at her cluttered desk and she's typing manically, so that's saying something about her as a character and the scene without going into too much detail. You want to try and be as succinct as possible. Now we're going to move on to some dialogue, so we're going to start with the character's name, which should appear roughly in the centre of the script in capital letters. So there's Jo, and then this is followed then by the dialogue, so what that character is going to say. Sparkling dialogue, forgive me, this is a video about formatting your screenplay, not a video about how to write great dialogue. Okay, so now we're adding another action line. But notice this time, because we already know the character, their name now appears in normal case and obviously isn't followed by the age because we already know that. So Jo hits the delete button over and over again. Now we're going to move on to a transition, which basically means we're going to go from one scene to another, and to do that we're going to use the words cut to. You can also use fade in, fade out, dissolve to, back to, but generally most people use cut to, and you use this kind of transition when you're basically changing locations or you're changing time of day. So with each new scene is a new slug line, and this time I'm going to put my scene outside, so it's exterior, and it's going to be Jo's yard. And for time of day I'm just going to put later. And again, this slug line is followed by some scene direction or an action line. So Jo paces her yard, her mobile phone presses against her ear. So again, it's all about being in present tense, being in that moment with the character as the action unfolds. Now, just as before, we're going to add some more dialogue, but this time I'm going to introduce the use of parentheticals or parentheses. And parentheses, basically they appear under the character's name and they are in brackets, and they basically convey They can convey a tone of voice or a small action that happens whilst the dialogue is happening. So if someone's shouting or whispering. Some people love to use parentheticals or parentheses. Some writers don't use it at all. It's personal preference. I do use them, but I tend to use them sparingly, so I'm not constantly under every single line of dialogue using them. But so in this case, because Jo's speaking into her phone, I'm putting in the parentheses into the handset. Then underneath I'm following the parentheses with the dialogue just as before. Now I'm going to do what's called a mini slug, which is slightly different to your regular slug line. So as before, I'm going to follow the line of dialogue with a line of action, but this time the line of action is going to be followed directly by a mini slug, and we're going to skip the transition. So running her fingers through her hair, Jo strides into, and then I'm using a semicolon, and I'm basically going straight into the next scene heading, which is interior kitchen, and that's all I'm going to put. I'm not putting time of day, and I'm not using cut to, because basically it's a continuous piece of action and she's just literally going from one room to another, as opposed to changing location or changing time of day, because that's traditionally when you use a cut to. If you're changing location, like significantly changing location or changing time of day. So, running her fingers through her hair, Jo strides into interior kitchen. Again, I'm following the scene heading with some action. So, snatching the kettle from the stove, Jo fills it with water. I'm continuing the action on the next line, and that's a great idea. A new action should be a new line. That creates lots of white space on the page and generally a pacier read for someone who's going to be reading your script. It's a good idea to avoid chunky paragraphs of description. So we have the ding dong of the doorbell is heard. Then another action, another line. So Jo hurriedly crashes the kettle down and rushes to answer the front door. I'm going to go for another mini slug here because the action's continuous and the main location hasn't changed. So interior hall, followed by an action line. And then we're going to introduce another character here, so their name is going to appear in capitals and followed by their age, so Leo 40s. And we're going to make him Hollywood handsome. So take what you want from that. So she pulls open the door to reveal Leo 40s Hollywood handsome standing on the doorstep. Then more dialogue. So the character's name. I'm going to add some parentheses, followed by the dialogue as normal. And again, this is just an example of how to lay out a script. It's just a basic format, but obviously you don't have to do action line then dialogue, action line then dialogue. You know, generally that is what happens in a film. There's action and then somebody speaks, but it's not exclusive. So here I'm just going to have dialogue followed by dialogue, so what normal people like to call a conversation. So Jo, face falling, says, "What the hell are you doing here?" Leah replies, "A gracious welcome as always." And then just in case his tone is unclear, I'm actually just going to add a little action line in between the dialogue. So Leo smiles sarcastically. I could have put sarcastically in parentheses, but I don't really want to overdo the parentheses. So let's just say Leo smiles sarcastically. Then now we're going to change time of day. So the location is going to remain the same, but we're changing time of day. So that warrants a major transition. So I'm going to use cut to. So scene heading again, interior, Jo's office, but this time night. And you know by now what's coming next, an action line. So Jo sits at her desk typing, Leo hovers at her shoulder. Now I don't know if you noticed there, but I almost put is hovering, but preferably you want to put sits or hovers. You want it to be active. If you tend to put is sitting or is hovering, it tends to feel passive, so where possible try and keep your action active. And triumphantly she hits the return key. Then some character name and some dialogue. and a final couple of action lines, and I think we're going to end with a kiss, like all good movies do. Finally, we do one last transition, and this is generally the way that you end a script, in the same place that you would write cut to. So on the right hand side of the page, you will write fade to black or fade out. It's up to you, but generally fade to black is the rule, and it's what most people use. Finally, once your first draft is done, you can add scene numbers if you're using Final Draft or one of the other movie software applications. Otherwise, if you're doing it in a word processor, you need to add the scene numbers as you go, but generally I just pop them down the left hand side, and each scene, starting with the first scene, is obviously 1, 2, 3, and it goes on like that in numerical order, and that's pretty much it. However, just as a side note here, guys, I wanted to add, you don't have to use Final Draft. There are lots of other screenwriting softwares available, and just general word processors. You can even use Microsoft Word. They have a template. Although looking at it here, I'm not sure how great it would be, but you can give it a go. There's a writing application called Scrivener, which is a great all-rounder. It has options to write plays for stage, screenplays, novels, articles. It's got some great research capabilities. It's very reasonably priced, and there is an option to download a free trial so you can give it a test drive. I use it for novels and theatre scripts, but I've heard it's great for screenplays too. If you don't want to shell out any cash on a screenwriting software or a specific writing software, then Celtex or Celtex is a great place to start. I believe it's free to download, so if you're a beginner or you're just giving screenwriting a try for the first time, then it's definitely worth checking it out. There's also some software called Fade In. I haven't used this, but I have tried the demo and it looks pretty good. It's $50 I think, or $34.99 in UK money, so it's pretty competitively priced, and I've heard quite good things about it. Movie Magic Screenwriting is another one. This is quite expensive. I haven't tried it, so I don't know what it's like, but at a regular price of $250, you know, you'd probably want to think seriously before purchasing it. That's similar to Final Draft as well, which I believe is $49.99 in dollars. So I'm not sure what that is in UK money, but when I bought my copy, I actually searched for discount codes online, and I managed to get, I think it's like 33% off, so definitely look out for those if you're considering purchasing Final Draft in the UK. As far as I know, all of this software is available on Mac and Windows. There may be other things available for Windows, but I don't actually use Windows myself, so I wouldn't know. So there we go. I hope that video was helpful. That's how to format your screenplay, or at least the basics. If any of you have any questions, then leave a comment below or find me on Instagram, Jo Gard's Writing Life, and I will try and answer them for you. In terms of screenplays, another thing that might be really helpful if you're new to the craft, or you know, you're just thinking about format, or you want to improve your style, look at other screenwriters' work. BBC Writers' Room have scripts on their website, although they are production scripts, so they have camera angles in, so just be aware of that when you're reading it. Also, there's an awesome script search engine called Scridex. I will put the link in the bar below. Basically, you just type a title of a screenplay that you're looking for into the search engine, and if it's out there on the internet, it will come back with the results, and then you can just download the PDF and read away. And yes, I definitely recommend reading screenplays. It's a great way of learning about the format and learning about the craft. Thanks for watching. Check out my blog if you like this video. Also, I will be uploading some new videos in the future, so keep an eye on this channel. Until then, keep writing. Bye for now.